back to the Factor Uncensored. Tonight, we're taking time for a little reality check for you. As we as a society, are we losing patience these days? We've seen multiple stories recently of things going too far, too quickly. Most recently, the massacre in Cleveland, Texas, a gunman killing 5 people after a simple request for him to be quiet, keep it quiet in the neighborhood. A family had just put their 1-month-old to bed and wanted to keep the baby sleeping. Tonight, we want to know how others can keep their agitation in line. Joining me now, licensed social worker Yvette Muro, community advocate Eva Go, and psychotherapist Dr. Nick Hardy. Glad to have you all here on the Factor Uncensored. So when we see it, it doesn't always have to be as tragic as what we saw in Cleveland. We've seen road rage incidents where people are knocking each other's windows out and threatening to shoot and kill each other. Is this something new in society, or there are more cameras out there and we're seeing it more?
I think definitely there are a lot more cameras out there, but I think there's quite a spiritual and relational deficit out there. I think we have taken God out of a lot of aspects of our lives, and we have depersonalized ourselves through media. And so it's so easy for us to take action without thinking about that there's a human on the other side of that action, whether we're a keyboard warrior or if we're point blank taking some crazy action against another person. I think we've lost so much of that with people that we don't hesitate to do that. So I think that it's a terrible thing what people are doing.
And Dr. Hardy always talk about this when we say we see red. There's such a thing as people just being so enraged with the smallest of issues, and it could be compounded by other things that are going on in their life, but it only takes one trigger and they see red and nothing makes sense to them. All they want to do is fix it and go after that person.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think there's so many other factors that influence a person to get to that point. You never know when they're at that tipping point. And so whether it's stress, whether it's the relationship at home, whether it's the job, I mean, all of these things go into us being at a place where just one person says one thing, and sure enough, that's when you cut them off in the street, and then you see this explosion. So typically it's not one isolated event, it's the culmination of a series of events.
Yvette, how do you make sure you don't go too far? You control that. You try to bring balance in your life where this one incident in a series of incidents won't push you over the edge.
Well, I think that it takes a lot of coping skills and learning how to identify these emotions and these triggers as well whenever they're occurring or happening. So being able to identify your emotions, identify what works best for you to be able to calm yourself down, to not let it escalate like that, and then being able to apply it in that situation.
And for those who find themselves in a position where they are right at the threshold of going too far. And you do a lot of spiritual things, and also you believe in God. What would you say to yourself to keep you from going too far?
You know, a Bible verse actually comes to my mind. It's Romans 12:12. It says, rejoice in hope, be patient in affliction, and be constant in prayer. And I think that whenever I'm faced up with a situation, the first thing I do is I'm quiet. I'm slow to speak and quick to hear, or I try to be. And in my mind, I'm praying just for a peace of mind to be able to step out of a situation, out of the emotional aspect of the situation, to see what's really happening. And with people, there's a story behind every action, every smile, every jerk response. And if we can kind of remove ourselves from that for a moment and calm ourselves and say a prayer, that really sets a tone for me to just get my head on right and not say something that I'm going to regret or do something that's going to get me in trouble.
And Dr. Hardy, what would you suggest for those who may have that adrenaline going, and especially with a lot of males? They're like, I'm a male. I need to stand up for what I believe and beat his ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you pull that back?
Well, I think anything that you say to yourself that allows you time to just think and not react can be helpful. Something as simple as it's not that serious, or just give it a second, or just anything that allows you to pause in a productive way can just allow it to sit for a second, because the truth is, when you look at it, 9 out of 10 times it's really not that serious. I mean, most of the time after a few seconds we forget all about it.
All right. We want to thank you guys for joining us and your advice here on The Factor.